I watched them from my kitchen window, chainsaws buzzing, smirks on their faces. The HOA had no right to touch my windbreak trees, but there they were, cutting down decades of protection my late father had planted with his bare hands. When I confronted them, they handed me a flimsy letter claiming visual harmony. I knew then this wasn't about rules. It was personal, but nature has its own justice, and when the storm hit, it came for them. My name's Cal. I live on a quiet 10-acre property just outside a tightly governed HOA neighborhood. My dad bought this land 40 years ago and planted rows of tall spruce trees to shield the house from brutal winter winds. Those trees were more than property, they were family. And when he died, I swore I'd protect everything he left behind. But when the neighboring HOA expanded their reach, things started getting ugly. First, it was petty letters, complaints that my barn was unsightly or that my gravel driveway diminished the neighborhood aesthetic. I didn't even live in the HOA, but they insisted I was adjacent and therefore under influence. It was laughable until at one morning I woke up to roaring chainsaws. My trees, half of a northern row, were being cut down. I ran outside in my slippers, screaming at the crew. They told me they had authorization from the HOA board to remove visual obstructions. My jaw dropped. These are my trees. On my land, I shouted, but the man handed me a formal notice signed by HOA President Karen Whitmore. We found the property line extends slightly over. These trees encroach. They've been deemed non-compliant. I was stunned. I checked the deed, called the county. My trees were well within my boundary by 6 feet. When I confronted Karen that evening, she didn't even flinch. They blocked the clubhouse view. It's an eyesore. We're correcting it. You should thank us for increasing your land's aesthetic value. That's when I realized Karen didn't care about rules. She cared about control. That I filed a police report. The sheriff came, but said it was a civil dispute. I needed to SU. In the meantime, the HOA continued. 2 days later, the rest of the northern windbreak was gone. My house was now completely exposed, and winter was approaching fast. That week, I received an invite in the mail, a grand reopening of the HOA clubhouse. Turns out, they'd remodeled the place with wide glass windows, now facing directly where my trees used to be. They wanted an unobstructed view, and they stole it. But nature isn't always kind of vanity. The storm warning came just days later. A rogue Arctic front, winds up to 70 miles per hour, snow and sleet. The kind of storm my father built this windbreak to stop. That night, I boarded up my windows and prayed. I could hear the wind howling through the naked field where the trees once stood, battering the north wall of my house for the first time in decades. Then came the sound I'll never forget, shattering glass, not from my home, but from across the field. The HOA clubhouse that I saw it the next morning, the entire north wall of their brand new glass facade had caved in. The parking lot was littered with broken tree limbs. Ironically, the same kind they'd chopped from my land and dumped nearby. Snow had blown inside the ballroom. Thousands in damage. A total wreck that I didn't smile. Not yet. Because Karen still had one more move to make. And it was the lowest of them all. Instead of admitting fault, she blamed me for the damage. She claimed that the removal process had been delayed due to my resistance and filed a civil suit for obstruction. That was the moment I realized this wouldn't end unless I made it. The moment I got the lawsuit papers, my blood boiled. Karen wasn't just power hungry. She was downright dangerous. She accused me of delaying the necessary removal of the trees, which allegedly increased wind risk and exposed community structures to severe damage. Her HOA wanted me to pay $68,000 in repairs. But here's what Karen didn't know. I had everything on camera at my father, a stickler for security, had installed motion-triggered wildlife cameras across our property. One of them, hidden in a birdhouse, captured everything. From a moment the crew arrived to Karen herself supervising and laughing while pointing at the trees. Even better, the footage had timestamp proof that they trespassed and chopped trees that were clearly inside my boundary line. Well, before any storm was forecasted, I lawyered up. And not just with any lawyer. I hired Sarah Tran, a property rights bulldog known for slamming abusive HOAs in court. She didn't just want to win the case. She wanted to bury Karen legally. The court date was set. Word spread fast in the neighborhood. Many of the HOA residents, especially newer families, started asking questions. Wait, if he doesn't live in the HOA, why does Karen think she can sue him? Others remembered Karen's years of petty fines, dog poop letters, and lawn height inspections. On the day of the hearing, Karen strutted into court in a bright red suit, fake confidence oozing from her every step. But that confidence evaporated when Sarah played the birdhouse video on the courtroom screen. There was no denying it. Her signature on the removal order. Her voice saying, "We'll do it fast before he causes a fuss." The saws cutting into trunks. Her saying, "Who needs permission when you've got power?" The judge, a soft-spoken, older gentleman, looked over his glasses and said, "Ms. Whitmore, did you ever verify the property line before removing these trees?" Karen stammered. I was told." The judge cut her off. Told by whom? "The property lines on file at the county are clear." Karen turned red. "We acted in the best interest of the neighborhood." "You acted in violation of private property rights," the judge replied coldly. "That's not a civic act, that's vandalism." Then came the twist that left Karen speechless. The judge not only dismissed her case, he ruled in my favor and ordered the HOA to pay $105,000 in damages for the value of the destroyed trees, emotional distress, and exposure to storm risk. That wasn't all. Within weeks, the county announced an investigation into the HOA board's finances. Turns out Karen had been misusing HOA funds for years. Personal landscaping, spa treatments, even avocation to Aspen labeled as community development. She was voted out in a fiery special meeting. Several other board members resigned. A new, younger leadership took over, and they came to me personally to apologize. The clubhouse? Still under repair. They asked if I'd be willing to let them plant a new windbreak on their side of the line. I agreed. Under one condition, that the trees be dedicated to my father. Now a sign stand at the edge of the row in memory of Walter Green, who knew nature's worth before we did. Funny thing is, people still talk about that storm. But not just for the damage. They talk about how one man stood up to power, protected his family's legacy, and let the wind carry justice to the doorstep of those who thought they were untouchable. If this story moved you, make sure to hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss another powerful HOA drama. We post brand new emotional stories every day, and trust me, they only get more intense from here.